Hello everyone and welcome to the 2019-2020 not German Grand Prix from Hockenheim here in Germany. A rainy day in the German clouds pouring down. I'm Tyler McDonald, alongside me Chris Cato and Shaker Barty for what should be a fantastic race here in Germany. Chris, just take us through this fantastic circuit here at Hockenheim.
A classic circuit on the F1 calendar, titled 4.5 kilometer circuit, 17 turns to the 2 DRS zones. We got the long straight into a tricky hairpin braking zone. Going to be even trickier today with the wet conditions. Luckily not too wet where we're going to get a lot of standing water, but forecasting about the rain to end in about 15 to 20 minutes or so we could see a change to dry conditions as well.
Oh, of course, we all remember the 2019 Real Grand Prix and how exciting that race was, and hopefully an exciting race virtually here as well. Shaker, you're down in the pit lane. Just tell us about Valtteri Bottas. He's going to be starting in 4th position here.
Well, Valtteri really isn't hoping for what happened to him last year in the rain, and as you guys can see, it's not raining as hard as it was last year, but these drivers really don't want to repeat of what happened. Well, I mean, I'm sure Max is hoping for a repeat, but we'll see what happens at the end of this race.
You see near the back of the grid there, once again, George Russell will take you through the starting grid here from Hockenheim as these teams get ready to start going in the rain. And here you see some peaks of clear clouds in the distance. As the starting grid, Lewis Hamilton once again starts on pole alongside the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. On the second row, Max Verstappen lines up 3rd alongside, as we mentioned before, Valtteri Bottas in that Mercedes. Alex Albon starts P5 and a disappointing qualifying for Charles Leclerc. He's in 6th position. The Racing Points line up on the 4th row. Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll take up those spots. Kevin Magnussen had a good qualifying going into Q3 alongside Kimi Räikkönen. The Renaults line up beside each other as Nico Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo with a much better showing in qualifying than his last race. Romain Grosjean in 13th position alongside the McLaren of Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris's teammate in 15th, and the Toro Rosso of Danny Kvyat in 16th position. Pierre Gasly in 17th position, disappointing for the Toro Rossos. George Russell lines up in 18th position. Antonio Giovinazzi has a very disappointing qualifying as he lines up P19 alongside, with the second race in a row, in last place, Robert Kubica. Chris, before we get started here on this formation lap, as the drivers look up to warm their tires and maybe get rid of some of that standing water on the racetrack, any last-minute preparations, or what are you hearing from the teams?
Well, really key to try and get some sort of temperature into the tires, Tyler, but it is a little bit more difficult to warm up the rears, obviously, in the wet just because of how wet the surface is. You don't want to light up the rears or you're going to be sending it right into the wall. Of course, these intermediate Pirelli tires, they can get rid of 30 liters of water per second at 300 kilometers per hour. So, as I mentioned off the top, the good news about this is that they are raceable conditions. Not a lot of standing water, so the driver shouldn't be aquaplaning too much, but you're going to need that nimble right foot with the throttle pedal today, that's for sure.
Of course, we'll see, as you mentioned, Chris, the weather looking like it could clear up in about 15-20 minutes, and we'll see if that is the case. You never know with Mother Nature, as we saw, of course, in Germany in the real-life race, going from wet to dry to back to wet. It was unbelievable, and hopefully have that race happening here. Shaker, you're down looking at the weather radar. What do you see down there?
It looks like you guys said earlier, should clear up in about 15-20 minutes from what we're seeing, but let's hope it doesn't go back and forth. Let's hope it doesn't change back into rain, because we do want to see an exciting race at the end of this. We do want to see all the drivers finish. So yeah.
Chris, Lewis Hamilton won the last race in our virtual not Grand Prix in Bahrain. He's on pole again today. What do you expect out of the Brit?
Yeah, and of course last race, if we remember, in Bahrain, started out in front and pretty much ran away with the race after the opening lap. So remember back though last year in 2019 at the German Grand Prix, one of the worst weekends for Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton crashing out in that comical 60-second pit stop from Mercedes. So he's starting in the best position. He won't have that spray to deal with in front of him. When you're in wet conditions, you want to start on pole. It's the best place to start on the grid.
Well, the teams are heading out on the front stretch here as Lewis Hamilton takes his grid position. Sebastian Vettel is going to line up beside him, and we'll see. He's pointing a little bit to the left there and maybe trying to get along the inside as fast as he can against Lewis Hamilton as the Renaults come around the corner. And we'll have to wait for all these drivers to line up. There you see George Russell and Robert Kubica is going to be the last one to line up here as he takes his grid spot, and we should be ready to go here from Germany. 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are underway here from Hockenheim, and a great start coming from Lewis Hamilton. Once again, some mess near the back of the grid, but Lewis Hamilton gets into turn 1 on his own. Max Verstappen along the outside of Sebastian Vettel. Can he get through? They go side by side. Valtteri BOTTAS sticks in 4th position as they go into the 2nd corner. Sebastian Vettel is going to take that position. Behind him, Max Verstappen, Valtteri BOTTAS, Alex Albon. They stay in the same order as they did at the start. What a great start, though, for Lewis Hamilton.
Great start by Lewis Hamilton, but remember Max Verstappen, he loves these conditions. Vettel getting the best of Verstappen going into the long straight here. Impressive driving from the two.
Into the hairpin as they all go very nimbly and single file as I believe that's Nico Hülkenberg looking for a pass down in 11th position. Field spreading out here a little bit. Everyone trying to get their grasp on these intermediate tires. You can tell that all these drivers are a little cautious on their overtaking, Chris. There's not much risks being taken so far here on lap 1.
Yeah, and as the old saying goes, you can't win a lap on the first race, but you can definitely lose it. So just trying to take it easy here, trying to form that dry line that's going to appear after a couple of laps here. But like I said, you want to get some of that temperature into those tires, and it's difficult to do in these wet conditions.
So on lap 2, it's Lewis Hamilton from Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen in 3rd. Valtteri Bottas in 4th. Charles Leclerc gained a position on that first lap. He picked a spot over Alex Albon. He's in 5th. Albon in 6th. And then it's the 2 racing points in 7th and 8th. Sebastian Vettel trying to put some pressure on Valtteri Bottas looking along the outside. There's Charles Leclerc as Albon got past Leclerc quickly there, but Leclerc going back along the outside, Albon along the inside. And that battle for 5th position continues. They're side by side.
And here we are on lap 2 already. You're starting to notice the dry line form. And as the cars keep running through the circuit here, we're going to see that form more and more. So still raining, though, you can see down in this Hockenheim ring circuit, but changeable conditions. And here it goes. Leclerc and Albon side by side into the Sachs curve.
Leclerc along the inside. Can he take the position? He gets the better drive. Albon along the inside now for this next right-hander, and they continue side by side with great racing between these two young drivers down through the final corner, side by side once again. Oh, pardon me, not the final corner. Got my corners mixed up, but Leclerc goes along the inside, takes 5th position from Alex Albon as they continue to battle, and look who's lurking in the distance there. It's Sergio Perez looking to pick up the scraps of that fight.
The Racing Points have some pretty good pace keeping up with the Red Bull and the Ferrari, but that's some great driving there from Leclerc and Albon in the wet.
Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:25.5 as we start lap number 3 of this German Grand Prix.
Difference here, though, Tyler, is last week in the not Bahrain Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was able to kind of create that gap early on, but Vettel keeping pretty good pace with Lewis so far.
There he is as Vettel looks to master the wet here today. Of course, you got that heading, that DRS is disabled. And there along the inside goes Valtteri Bottas along Max Verstappen, and Bottas is going to go up into 3rd position. Can Verstappen keep it on the outside? No, he can't. Better drive from the Mercedes, and he'll go into 3rd. A nice little pass there from Bottas into the hairpin.
Yeah, nice move from Bottas there. Really good on the brakes. So easy in the wet conditions as well to lock up the front axle because the car will be riding just on top of that water and it will just easily lock up as soon as you punch the brakes. So nice move there from Bottas, but I got a feeling Max Verstappen is going to make a comeback here and into this next lap.
See that dry line really showing now, Chris. Clear indication on where the racing line is here at Hockenheim, and the spray has settled down a little bit from these Pirelli intermediate tires, and we'll see that maybe in the next coming laps whether or not we have some pits coming in. take a look at the race start replay here, and what a start it was from Lewis Hamilton, getting through the first corner without any issue, and it was pretty sketchy behind Lewis Hamilton as 2 rows back there going side by side. Here, take a look at Nico Hülkenberg, Chris, and the start that he had.
Yeah, this is a good replay just to show how much spray there is early on in the race when we don't have the dry line that we're starting to see now. And very careful, we got the Racing Point running wide up ahead, as now we got the onboard from Lando Norris a little bit further back down in 16th place, and it's really tricky for the cars in the midfield because you're dealing with a lot of spray and lack of grip. So lap 1 is just all about getting through, making sure you don't make any mistakes.
It was Norris, and I believe that's Daniel Ricciardo along the inside. And look at Norris, they're trying to get 2 positions here on that race start. A nice start from the McLaren, and Lando Norris feeling confident. Now we go 3 wide as we get back into action, as that's, I believe, Carlos Sainz alongside Pierre Gasly and Daniel Ricciardo. A nice little battle there in the midfield. Sainz is looking along the inside with a nice block coming there from Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, this is a really good battle here for 13th, Tyler, between Ricciardo, Gasly, Sainz, and Lando Norris also getting in on the action. So heading down here into the Sachs curve, still raining a little bit. We don't see really a need for change for tires right at the moment because it's still fairly wet, but you can kind of really see that dry line starting to form now on that racing line.
Shaker, what are you hearing down on the pits? Any movement happening down as the Racing Points look to battle?
It looks like Red Bull's unleashing the chains for Verstappen. It seems like they were holding back a little bit after that little sketchy race start that he had against Vettel. But yeah, it looks like they're giving him all and going to let him take over his positions. He's lost it against Bottas, and they're letting him go.
All right, so Max Verstappen going to be making a charge as down the inside goes Lance Stroll. Thank you very much, Shaker, for that update. Lance Stroll goes up into P7, and he had a fantastic real-life race here in Germany, finishing P4, and looks to try and make his way up the ranks here. And a nice little gap he's forming against Sergio Perez. I wonder if Perez is battling an issue at all.
And of course, remember, he even led that race at one point, albeit for only 4 or 5 corners or so, but Lance Stroll pretty good in the wet.
Okay, some information on Bottas. They have some kind of mechanical problem.
Oh, so I believe that, if I heard that right, Chris, is that Bottas with the mechanical problem?
Yeah, that's what Verstappen's race engineer, Giampiero Lambiase, reporting to Verstappen. And you can see him here. He's closed up the gap a lot, and he's right on the gearbox of Valtteri Bottas. So Bottas, I'm not sure what the issue is, but slowing down considerably.
From Shaker, that Verstappen is given all the engine power as he goes down the inside of Valtteri Bottas and gets a position into P1, or sorry, it's a turn 1. We'll see if Shaker can get down to the Mercedes pit wall here and see what he can do and get some more information. But Charles Leclerc now down the inside of Valtteri Bottas, and that's 2 positions in 2 corners that Bottas has lost. Shaker, any word from the Mercedes pit garage?
I'm still waiting to hear, but it seems like it might be an engine issue that they're facing here. I'll wait to update you guys. I'm just getting to the bench here, but I'm overhearing a little bit. But I'll get back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Shaker. We'll see what he can get out of the Mercedes and the pit wall there, as down the inside it was Sergio Perez trying to defend from Kevin Magnussen. And how big of an issue is this for Mercedes, Chris? They have Hamilton out in front, but now maybe they have to tune his engine back with his teammate already being having a big problem right now.
Yeah, Bottas went from 3rd to 5th in a matter of a lap, so I hope the issue isn't terminal and they can continue. We saw him trying to come back on Charles Leclerc there going into the hairpin, but I don't know what the issue is. It'll be interesting to see what we hear from Shaker down in the pit lane, but we saw the gap between Hamilton and Vettel was pretty close, so Mercedes might need to pay attention to Hamilton's issue as well. It's a good point, Tyler.
Nico Hülkenberg still in 11th position there, trying to make his way through the field. He's at Kimi Räikkönen up ahead of him, and now we see Alex Albon putting some pressure on Valtteri Bottas. Albon's going to go down the inside, and he's going to sneak in to 5th position. Pardon me, into 6th position. No, it is 5th position with our, how do I get all my math sorted there, but Bottas is coming down the grid, and now it's Lance Stroll that's going to be licking his chop to see if he can get the Mercedes. And Shaker, you got any updates here coming from the Mercedes garage?
Well, it looks like it might be a retirement coming for Valtteri Bottas from what I'm hearing. So far, they're thinking about it. So I hope you guys will probably see that happening soon.
Oh, and that's just awful news for Valtteri Bottas. Thanks so much, Shaker, and we'll see if they will retire the car, Mercedes, and you have to think it might be the best case scenario for them to save any parts that they have there, Chris, because any parts going down in these races to come will be crucial.
Yeah, you don't want to take another grid penalty, especially heading into some of the circuits that we got coming up, like Monaco and Spain. So we'll see if Valtteri can continue. It's a little bit different, though, in the wet conditions. He might still be able to fight for positions, but currently down in 6th place.
There you see Lewis Hamilton as Sebastian Vettel looks to reel him in. He seems like Vettel's just keeping a gap right now, maybe not putting the pressure on just yet as we're on lap 8 of 17 here at Hockenheim. But Lewis Hamilton, once again, doing a good job of controlling the race like he did in Bahrain. Not as big as a gap as he had, as the Ferraris look to keep up, but still managing the race very well, Hamilton is.
Yeah, Hamilton's a master in wet conditions. And here comes Charles Leclerc now, making the move on Max Verstappen, going down into the hairpin.
Charles Leclerc down the inside in the hairpin. Can he make the move stick? We saw this happen once more. And Leclerc gets the better of the two young drivers. Verstappen falls into P4, and now we have a 2-3 for Ferrari. Can Verstappen answer on this next lap as he's going to tail Charles Leclerc? But what great pace the Ferraris are showing here in the wet.
It's been a great start to this race for Charles Leclerc. Remember, had a very poor qualifying. Started P6 in this race, now up into 3rd position. And we remember the battle between these two last year in Silverstone. Imagine if we get a
rain is passing. Expect it to ease up in the next few minutes. We should see a dry line start to form fairly rapidly.
Well, that's team radio there coming to Lance Stroll that we might see the end of this rain. And we'll see what strategies these teams pick out in the pit stops. We'll have Shaker ready down at the pit lane to give us all the strategy. But rain ending in a few minutes here, Chris. What sort of strategies could these teams be putting out to try and get an advantage?
You know, sometimes they have some team members standing at different parts of the circuits, and we saw this in last year's race as well. Sector 1, it's still dry, but then you still got rain down in Sector 2, so it's difficult to make the call. But one thing is for sure, you do not want to be the last team to switch onto the dry tire, but you also don't want to be the first team to switch onto the dry tire while it's still too wet.
Max Verstappen trying to get past Charles Leclerc here in the hairpin. Can't get by him as good defending coming from the young Ferrari driver. Here we see now Lance Stroll going down the inside of Valtteri Bottas. Oh, pardon me, that's Sergio Perez. Stroll's already got by. So Bottas now falling all the way to P8, and he's really struggling, and you have to think retirement has to be coming, as Shaker said, as the 2 racing points are now by the Mercedes. And what a disappointing race it's going to be for Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, they might retire him if pit stops start to come and teams are coming in for dry tires. But interesting now when you're starting to see, it seems like the rain has stopped on some of the wider camera shots that we're getting. Now it's a question of, are those intermediate tires going to heat up too much when it's on the dry line? So we might have to see some drivers going offline to cool their tires. Yeah,
it is around that time where even if the race was going wet to the end, you'd be coming in to change your tires here, Chris, because the intermediates are pre-worn right now. We've seen a lot of those camera shots, so it'll be interesting to see whether teams come in for another set of inters or do they go in for a set of softs or a set of mediums. So lots of strategy could play out here in the next few laps.
Yeah, if they come in within the next 3 laps, they'll be able to go super soft, or excuse me, the C4 tire all the way to the end of the race. That is the quickest tire, so that would be the smartest decision to go with. 8 laps to go. We'll see when the teams come in, but it seems any minute now, some team, especially in the midfield, might want to pull the trigger and create the domino effect.
There you see Nico Hülkenberg as Romain Grosjean got by him a lap ago. Hülkenberg down in P12, Grosjean in P11, and Kimi Räikkönen keeping hold of that last points paying position as down the inside goes Kevin Magnussen on Valtteri Bottas. They're side by side, and we'll see if Bottas falls down to P9. Magnussen's fighting with him there. Here you see Lewis.
Yeah, Bottas staying ahead for now.
Pardon me, go ahead, Chris.
No, it just made that comment too, that Bottas stayed ahead Magnussen, so holding on to P8 at the moment.
Okay, perfect. There you see Sebastian Vettel. Is he going to get the call in? You still see some spray coming from his tires as he tries to reel in Lewis Hamilton. And into the pits. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. We're going to go head down to Shaker Barty down in the pit lane to see what he can get any information. Shaker.
Well, it seems like some of the teams were kind of just waiting out to see who would go in first, and it seems like Ferrari are the one to pull that stop, and it seems like we have Alex Albon coming in as well, and they're going with the mediums here. Whoa, what happened there?
They've double stacked.
Yes, there we go. Going for the double medium switch here, and seems like a lot of the teams are kind of going for that option. They seem like the mediums are going to land them out for, they're going to hold them out for the rest of the race. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shaker. So everyone diving into the pits except for the leader, Lewis Hamilton. He continues out, and the Racing Points double stack their team too. Roman Grosjean into the pits. Renault's double stacking. Some poor. Oh, look at that.
But this is a poor stop here from Haas. Almost a 9-second stationary pit stop for Romain Grosjean.
We're going to see this grid order get shaken up. Some really interesting strategy from these teams. Double stacking, the Racing Points double stacking, Red Bull's double stacking, Renault's double stacking, and some very poor communication coming from those teams.
Yeah, and a lot of time is going to be lost for the car that had to wait in that pit lane as well. So Hamilton stayed out. Here we see another driver, Denny Kvyat, who stayed out, and look how much he's struggling on those worn intermediate tires. I believe that's Lance Stroll that's going to overtake him.
So Lance Stroll along the inside, and you have to think that these drivers on the intermediates are going to be coming in this lap. Kvyat and Hamilton would be, I think, the only two that are still out on the track on intermediates, and Hamilton now is going to dive into the pits. So Lewis Hamilton, the leader, can he stay ahead of Sebastian Vettel? He's going to dive into the pit. Shaker, go down to the Mercedes garage.
Well, it seems like Lewis has some words to say to his team here, that he missed out on the first lap, that they were, it seems like Mercedes made that decision to hold out to see who would go first. And Lewis missed out on that opportunity. He's going to really have to fight back here to get his big, to try to get that position back.
So Vettel's got by. Here comes Max Verstappen. Can he fight for Lewis Hamilton? Hamilton down the inside. Verstappen has the warmer tires as they battle through turn one. Thank you very much, Shaker, for that info. Great battle coming between these two. Down the outside goes Lewis Hamilton. He switches to the inside for this next corner. Verstappen with the toe. Can he make a move along the inside? He goes, switches to the outside. Verstappen into the hairpin. Can he switch back here? He's going to hold it along the outside, but Lewis Hamilton will take second position, but he has lost the lead to Sebastian Vettel. And what poor management of the race we've seen from the Mercedes team, haven't we?
Pretty good defending, though, from Hamilton, just coming out of the pits on cold tires, being able to fend off Verstappen. But I agree, Tyler. I'm really questioned. That's the second year in a row now that we've had questionable strategy calls there from Mercedes at this racetrack. And now we've got Vettel ahead, set the fastest lap, creating a decent gap now between him and Hamilton. So I'd understand Hamilton's frustration there.
You see the battle for P5. Lance Stroll during all this has popped up into P5, but Alex Albon going to go around the outside. Can he get past the Canadian? They
touched.
Lance Stroll spins Alex Albon, and
Bottas hit the back of Raikkonen.
Yeah, Raikkonen landed into Albon, and we have double waved yellows and a virtual safety car, I believe, from these teams. Raikkonen piled into Alex Albon, and Valtteri Bottas could not stop in time. He piled into Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah, I was trying to see if Lance Stroll had any damage, and we got a safety car. Safety car has been out.
Full safety car here, and well, that just brings everything right back in, doesn't it? Sebastian Vettel's going to lose his lead. That his strategy has gained a big break for the Mercedes in one way, but the non-retired Valtteri Bottas still somehow out there with engine troubles down at P19 after all that.
Yeah, and Albon just ahead of him in P18. Lance Stroll took him out. It seemed like it was close racing there, and it doesn't seem like Stroll has any damage. It was a pretty low-speed collision. I wonder if the stewards are going to have a look at that, or if they're just going to make it a racing incident. But now the field's going to be bunched back up. So like you said, Tyler, whatever gap that Vettel had is now completely gone.
So we have, going to this safety car, Sebastian Vettel ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen, P4 is Charles Leclerc, and then the controversial Lance Stroll in P5 after that collision, followed by Kevin Magnussen, Sergio Perez, Pierre Gasly, Kimi Räikkönen, who somehow got through unscathed in that incident, even though he was being rammed into by Valtteri Bottas in P9. And under investigation, we have that's Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg for not slowing under yellow flags, and everything's popping up. The stewards now have gone from a very quiet race to being very busy up in their booth.
Yeah, interesting that Lance Stroll not being under investigation, so maybe the stewards looking at that as a racing incident, but I'd almost expect Gasly and Hülkenberg to get penalties for that because that's coming straight off of the telemetry. So we know that the stewards are really policing not slowing under yellow flags. So what a change of events here now. We got recently just come out of the pit stops onto dry tires and now the safety car to bunch things up.
Here you take a look at the replay here, Chris, and you see Stroll down the inside and Verstappen. Well, Verstappen, I'm not sure if he gave him enough room there on the inside as Stroll looked to keep his position. Oh, sorry, Alex Albon, pardon me.
Yep.
And there you see, wow, what a hit it was with Valtteri Bottas running to the back of Kimi Räikkönen there.
Yeah, you wonder if Räikkönen's got any damage to the rear diffuser there, but like you mentioned, he's continuing still pretty good down in P9, but that's definitely Lance Stroll's fault there, and very similar actually to the collision between Albon and Hamilton last year in Brazil. So Albon just can't catch a break.
Ready to go racing again. The safety car is in this lap.
So safety car will be in, and Chris, before we go back to racing, I just want to point out, after all this calamity, George Russell's up into P13 in the Williams. So let's see if he can somehow squeak his way into a points-paying position. And the loser out of all is Carlos Sainz. I'm not sure what happened to him. He's down in P20, last position, as we get ready to go back to racing, Chris.
Yeah, might have picked up some debris from that accident. He was in the row of cars just behind Bottas and Räikkönen, but also Antonio Giovinazzi up in P12 from P19 on the grid.
So Sebastian Vettel sets the pace here as safety car will be ending as it's gone into the pit lane, and we'll see what kind of restart we have. We're green flag waiting for Vettel to go, and here he goes. Sebastian Vettel, and it's a good start and reaction from Lewis Hamilton as he looks to get the toe down the front stretch to make a move maybe into turn one here. Not enough time. He continues the toe as Vettel leads the way. 3 laps left here on lap 15. Vettel going down into the hairpin, and he's going to hold that position from Lewis Hamilton as another DRS straight. Of course, DRS still hasn't been activated yet from the stewards. Down the inside, here goes Kevin Magnussen on Lance Stroll. Magnussen, can he hold it? Lance Stroll, no, gets the extra drive and keeps P5. Sergio Perez lurking in the distance. Can he now pick up the position that Magnussen was trying to take? Perez down the outside, and we'll see if he can keep that position. Now for the lead here. Fighting around the back, it's a double wave fight. Hamilton down the outside and Verstappen down the inside. Hamilton going to hold around the outside. Leclerc holds it around the outside. Who's going to take P3 here? Vettel keeps P1. Leclerc's going to take P3 as he's going to go down the inside here on Max Verstappen. What great racing from this restart we're seeing here, Chris.
Currently Ferrari 1-3 heading into 2 laps to go in this race. We saw Leclerc and Verstappen battling in the wet. Now they're battling in the dry. I got a feeling that this battle won't be over. We saw a little bit farther back in the field, Lance Stroll was caught napping a little bit on the safety car restart, but stays ahead of Magnussen in P5.
Down to get 2 laps to go. Sebastian Vettel with a slim lead over Lewis Hamilton. They go into turn 1. Vettel first, Hamilton second. Leclerc now sets the fastest time in the race, a 1:14.8. So Leclerc maybe trying to get some extra points coming toward himself. He's not happy with P3. He wants to get up and get past and make it a 1-2 for Ferrari.
The pace of Charles Leclerc right now is absolutely on fire. He's pulled ahead now of Max Verstappen.
Down the inside is Sebastian Vettel. Charles Leclerc in P3 as Lewis Hamilton tries to sneak it along the outside here with 2 laps to go. What a race we have for the podium positions. Leclerc looking hungry along the outside, maybe trying to set up a move here coming down toward the last lap. And time penalties being handed out here. 5 seconds to Nico Hülkenberg for not slowing under yellow flags.
Pierre Gasly also gets a 5-second.
Yeah, he is, Chris, and he wasn't under investigation. So I wonder what's happened there with Pierre Gasly.
I think it might have been him and Hülkenberg, both that were under investigation for the safety car exceeding the speed limit set by the steward. So Hülkenberg now down in 10th, Gasly in 8th. So that's a pretty good points position that they're in, that they're going to give up at the end of this race.
Oh, you're right, Chris. And now we have on the final lap of the race, DRS is enabled. So some extra firepower coming to make this last lap even more exciting. Sebastian Vettel leading from Hamilton and Leclerc. Verstappen lurking in 4th. Magnussen in 5th, but it's a 4-way fight here for the win. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton goes along the outside. The Vettel defends along the inside. Can Lewis Hamilton hold it along the outside? Leclerc lurking there in 3rd. Hamilton keeps it along the outside. Here you see a battle here for the mid positions. Nico Hülkenberg, Roman Grosjean fighting.
There's some frictions with the engine fog.
Okay, copy that. We are checking it.
Oh no! Charles Leclerc blows his engine on the last lap. Unbelievable! What awful scenes. He's going to retire this car on the last lap. He was in a podium position. And I think that's really screwed up the rest of the field, because now we have Vettel with a massive gap. So Hamilton was concerned, but Sebastian Vettel is going to go and get the win here at Germany. Sebastian Vettel, your 2019-2020 not German Grand Prix, virtual Grand Prix winner here at Hockenheim. Lewis Hamilton will come into 2nd place. Max Verstappen in 3rd.
Sebastian, P1. Awesome drive. That's the way to do it.
Woohoo! Grazie a tutti, grazie. Grande lavoro, grande macchina, con calma. Grazie.
Oh, what a race here from Sebastian Vettel and Chris. Does this lay down to the poor strategy from Mercedes, double stacking their team, or leaving Lewis Hamilton out? And for that extra lap, as Sebastian Vettel gets the win.
It was really what changed this race once the team started to switch to dry tires. Ferrari got it right, Mercedes got it wrong. It's not often that it goes that way, but excellent strategy call from Ferrari. What a drive from Sebastian Vettel. That regaining the confidence here in Hockenheim after what happened in 2018. What a race we had. The last 5 laps were just amazing. We'll have to take a look at the final leaderboard. There was so many changing positions, but great to see 3 different teams up on the podium for the 2nd virtual Grand Prix in a row.
The heartbreak, though, for Charles Leclerc as his engine blows up on the last lap. Max Verstappen takes home a 3rd position that he held for a long time, Chris, and got in the end due to the unfortunate events that happened for Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, it was a great battle between him and Charles Leclerc, but sometimes you need a little bit of luck in Formula 1, and Max Verstappen got it for sure.
Let's take a look at the final grid here. So Vettel from Hamilton and Verstappen. Lance Stroll does end up in P4. Kevin Magnussen in the Haas with a great P5. Sergio Perez in P6. Great points results for the Racing Points. Kimi Räikkönen in 7th. Roman Grosjean 8th. Giovinazzi ends up going up into 9th place. Daniel Ricciardo in 10th. Danny Kvyat out of the points paying position in P11. Nice job from George Russell. He ends up in P15. Of course, Charles Leclerc in P20 with that DNF. Gasly and Hülkenberg fall all the way down the grid with their penalties in P17 and P19. What a fantastic race, Chris. What are your reactions initially to this race?
I mean, Hockenheim just always provides us with something special, something amazing to talk about. Changeable conditions, wet to dry, strategy calls. We had good overtakes. We had late drama under the safety car. Just fantastic. This is exactly why we need to be racing at Hockenheim. Just brilliant racing.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us here for what was the 2019, F1 2019 game, the 2020 German Grand Prix from Hockenheim. That's all done virtually from us here at the BackMarkers F1 show, and hopefully it gave you some release during this unprecedented times that we're facing here, and some extra fun live events. Well, gentlemen, we'll have to see you for the next virtual Grand Prix. What a fun one it was.
See in quotation marks.
Yeah, exactly. This is all being done. We're not together during this. We're all on our homes, and this all done virtually. So some again, some more changes coming toward the actual real life stuff that's going on. But we're glad that we got to all this technology figured out, and we could bring some content to you guys.
We'll hear you again soon.
That's exactly. We'll hear you again soon. So for Shaker Barty, Chris Cato, I'm Tyler McDonald. Thank you so much for joining us. Comment on this video, like it, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.